Today we're going to talk about distributive property, combining like terms, and how to use them to solve equations. So for example, or definition-wise, distributive property helps you simplify what is inside the parentheses when the terms cannot be combined. So for example, 4 parentheses negative x plus y, x and y in the parentheses are not like terms, so you cannot combine them. So to eliminate the parentheses, you must distribute the number by the number touching the parentheses to each term inside the parentheses. So for example, I'm going to multiply 4 times negative x to get negative 4x, because remember this negative x over here is the same thing as negative 1x. So 4 times a negative 1 is a negative 4. Plus 4 times y, which is 4y. You still cannot combine them. However, now you've at least eliminated the parentheses, and they can possibly be combined with other terms that may be in the equation. So let's practice. We're going to do the evens. So 5, you're going to distribute this to each term on the inside. 5 times negative 3z is negative 15z, plus 5 times 4 is 20. Notice again, my term with the variable is going to be out front. Negative 8 times 2y is negative 16y. Negative 8 times 10 is a negative 80. You could also see this as negative 16y plus negative 80, but your future teachers are not going to want to see that. They're going to want to see minus 80. 1/2 times negative 4h. Positive times a negative is a negative. Half of 4 is 2, so negative 2h. 1/2 times 8 is 4. And number 8, just because the 10 is on the back side, doesn't mean anything. You still have to multiply by each term on the inside. So here you get 10 times a negative y, which is negative 10y, plus 10 times 8, which is 80. Pause the video and try the odds. Check your answers with the following problems. Remember in number 5, that negative out front, that's going to be the same thing as a negative 1 times 4x plus 3. So you're distributing a negative 1 to each term on the inside. Turn the page to page 8. So now let's look at distributive property and combining like terms. So first you must distribute like we just did on the other page. Then you have to combine any like terms. So for example, I'm going to distribute my 2 to each term on the inside of the parentheses to get 2r plus 8. I'm going to bring over my plus 6r. Now I need to combine all my like terms. So 2r plus 6r is 8r. Bring down your plus 8. So we'll do the evens again. First, you need to distribute. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times a negative 3 is a positive 6. Bring down your plus 17x. Now you can combine any like terms. Remember to include the sign that is in front of your term. So a negative 2 plus 17 is a positive 15. So 15x plus 6. I'm going to distribute negative 3 to each term on the inside. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Negative 3 times a negative n. It's going to be positive 3n, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Bring down your plus n. Now combine any like terms. 3n plus 1n, because remember there's a 1, is 4n minus 6. Don't forget that negative is out front, and that becomes your minus sign. Here for number 6, remember having this negative out here is the same thing as having a negative 1. So you're going to distribute negative 1 to each item on the inside. So negative 1 times 7 is negative 7. And then a negative 1 times a negative 4x is going to be a positive 4x. Bring down the rest of your terms. Now go through and look at any like terms that you may have. So 4x minus 3x is 1x. Just write it as x. Negative 7 plus 8 is a positive 1. And number 8, 1/6 times 6x and 1/6 times 18. Remember, when you multiply fractions times a whole number, place a 1 underneath the whole number and you go straight across. 1 times 6 is 6. 6 times 1 is 6. Now simplify. So here I get 1x, which is just x. Now 1/6 times 18. You get 18 over 6, which simplifies to 3. So x plus 3. Bring down your remaining terms. Now let's combine any like terms that you may have. So x minus 2x. So that's 1 minus 2. It's going to give you negative 1. X plus 3. Remember, this can also be written as just negative x plus 3. This is what your future teachers are going to want to see. Number 10, negative 4 plus 2x is negative 8x. Negative 4 times negative 6 is going to be positive 24. Bring down any remaining terms. Now you can combine. Notice negative 8x plus 8x, they actually cancel, leaving you just with 24. That is okay. And let's do the same thing for number 12 to get 10x plus 6. Bring down your remaining terms. I'm going to highlight all my like terms, including the sign that is in front of the term. So 10x plus 6x is 16x. 6 minus 8 is negative 2. Pause the video and try 1 through 11, the odd numbers. Check your answers with the following problems. Ask your teacher if you have any questions. Turn the page. Now you're going to take what we just learned and use it to solve the equation to figure out what the variable is. So the distributed property is necessary to solve the equation when the variable is inside the parentheses. Distributing allows us to remove the parentheses by multiplying each term on the inside of the parentheses by the term located on the outside of the parentheses. That's nothing new, you've seen that now. So step 1, you're going to distribute. Step 2, you're going to solve the variable using inverse operations. So looking at this example, 9 times 2w is 18w. 9 times negative 3 is going to be negative 27 equals 81. So now you have a two-step equation. Follow your steps that we did in the beginning of the year. Draw your line. Now you want to move your constant first. So plus 27 plus 27, which I did because it was a negative 27. Bring down your remaining terms. So 18w equals 108. This is multiplication, 18 times w. So the inverse operation, I'm going to divide each side by 18. So w equals 6. Circle your answer. You are able to check your work to see if you're ever wrong. Your teachers will want to see this. They're going to want to see step by step this year and next year. If you do not show this, you will not receive full credit. So let's try a couple evens, and then you'll do a few on your own. So let's look at number 2. So now I'm going to distribute first. So I'm going to get negative 6z plus 8 equals a negative, make sure you see that negative, 16. Draw my line down the equal sign. Now it's a two-step equation. You're trying to isolate your variable, so you want to move everything that is the furthest away to the other side first. So your positive 8, you're going to do the inverse operation of minus 8. Bring down what you have remaining. Negative 6z equals negative 16 minus 8, which is a negative 24. Now you want to divide each side by negative 6, and you can get z equals a positive 4. And again, you want to be able to check your answer. This will be required of you. So you write down your problem. Now you plug in what your answer is. So instead of z, I'm going to rewrite this statement, this equation, with 4 as z. Don't forget to include your parentheses here. So since negative 6z does not have any parentheses because it's a number times a variable, now here, in order to separate it and still state that it's multiplication, it's negative 6 parentheses 4. So you get negative 24 plus 8. Negative 24 plus 8 is negative 16. You need to have that negative 16 equals negative 16 as your check, your last step. Okay? Let's look at 4. So you're going to get negative 16y minus 80 equals negative 16. It's a two-step equation. Take your constant, move it first by using the inverse operation. So since it's minus 80, use plus 80. Write down what's remaining. To get negative 16y equals 64, divide each side by negative 16, and you'll get y equals negative 4. Remember, a positive divided by a negative is a negative. Again, you want to check your answers. So I wrote down negative 16y minus 80 equals negative 16. Okay, I'm going to write this down again, but instead of the y, I'm going to use a negative 4. Make sure you put that in parentheses. So 16 times 4 is a 64 minus 80 is going to give you negative 16 equals negative 16. So because these are the same, a negative 16 and a negative 16, you know you did your work right. On number 6, 1/2 times negative 4h is going to give you negative 2h. 1/2 times 8 is going to give you 4 equals 16. Solve your two-step equation. So you're going to get h equals negative 6. You notice how I'm circling my answer each time. This is important. Also, your work should not be everywhere. It should be in line, going straight down. So when I go through and check my answer, I should get 16 equals 16. Pause the video and finish your odds 1 through 7 and then number 8 as well. Check your answers when you're done. Check your answers with the following problems. If you have any questions, ask your teacher.